stream here. Boom. All right, we are heading over to there, and now we're going to restream.
All right, how's everybody doing? It is Friday.
It's Friday. It's Friday. I can't play the track in here because, you know, DMCA.
Of course.
Any big plans for the weekend?
I'm gonna do some laundry. Does that count?
That counts. I'm getting my second shot today in about 4 hours.
Hey, all right, congratulations.
Yeah. Eli, your gain is a little hot still. It's just a little bit, like when you get loud, it's just a little touch too loud. Little distortion there.
How's that? Is that any better?
Yeah, that's better. Right
awesome.
on.
Thanks for your help with that. Perfect.
Yeah, you know, it's how we do here, and everybody looking forward to it. We're going to start. We go to the weekend review, so if you want to raise your hand, if you want to have something you want to talk about the news, and we're going to start pinging people up to the stage. But we are going into the countdown right now. Hey, and welcome to the Music News Power Hour on the Music Industry City Broadcast Network. Today we are going to talk about, well, Apple is under the microscope, the future of live music, Twitch and live streaming, Universal, are they really worth $50 billion? Well, Goldman Sachs thinks so, and Lady Gaga's Dog Snatchers got caught. So they got snatched up, plus your daily Spotify update. It's the Week in Review. Happy Friday, everybody. But we have a lot to discuss. But first, let's welcome my co-host, Eli Window. Eli!
Hey, Peter, how you doing? And hey, everybody in the room, happy Friday to everyone. We're going to get started here with On This Day in History, but we just want to remind you that you're welcome to join the conversation in the back half of the show for our roundtable.
Right on.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. Lot to cover today. Welcome to the room on Clubhouse for iOS. Feel free to raise your hand if you'd like to contribute or comment on any of the headlines that we're reading out today. On this day, 1983, we remember the death of American blues legend Muddy Waters, who died in his sleep at his home in Westmont, Illinois. He was 68 years old. We also remember from this day, in 2005, American guitarist Norma Jean Wilford. She died on this date. Known as the Duchess, she worked with Bo Diddley as a Boette from 1962 to 1966. Bo Diddley was actually one of the first artists to have female musicians backing him up in his group. In memory, Norma Jean. Also, in memory from this date, 2019, American concert promoter and media personality Russ Gibb died. He was best known for his role in the Paul McCartney is Dead phenomenon, a story that he broke as a disc jockey on radio station WKNR-FM in Detroit. In memory. Moving on, birthdays. Born April 30th, 1957, Wonder Mike, rapper from the Sugar Hill Gang. Happy birthday. Born on this day, 1971, Darren Emerson, DJ, producer, and keyboardist from British electronic music group Underworld. Happy birthday. Also born April 30th, but 1981, Justin Vernon, American multi-instrumentalist, singer, songwriter, and producer, best known as the frontman of the indie folk band Bon Iver. And born on this day, 1992, American rapper, singer-songwriter, and record producer Travis Scott. Happy birthday. Moving on this day in 1976, The Who's drummer Keith Moon paid 9 cab drivers to block off both ends of a New York City street so he could throw the contents of his hotel room out of the window. That's a rock star move right there. Also this date, 1991, Nirvana signed a recording contract with Geffen's DGC label for $290,000 US. And on this date, 1999, 3 former members of Spandau Ballet lost a court case against band songwriter Gary Kemp. They claimed they were owed £1 million in lost royalties, and the judge said he had become a fan of the bands during the case. And that's it for this day in history. Back over to you, Peter.
Right on. Thank you for that, Eli. Yeah, we. So what we're going to do today is, welcome to some new faces to the music news. What we do here is we scour the World Wide Web for music business news that we think should be open for discussion, and we're going to get right into that shortly. We also want to say hi to everybody that is tuning into the live streams there. How are you? And somebody that's usually on Clubhouse just said in the feed, it's like weird to watch this while usually being on Clubhouse. So it's a different feeling. But you can
That was me.
Oh, that was Lindsay. There we go. Hey, Lindsay.
That was Lindsay. Hi, Lindsay. It's good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you in both places. So now it's going to get really meta for you. You'll be able to see yourself on the screen. And from the Clubhouse feed. So anyway, yeah, and for everybody else that's new, so what we do is we do a weekend review. If you want to follow along at home with the articles that we pull up, it is in the show notes. You can go to musicindustrycity.com and click on the Clubhouse Information Center graphic. And from there, you'll be able to see a link for music, the industry show notes. And that covers the music shout outs that we do in the earlier room today. Everybody suggests some music. And then we have all the articles. And what we do for the first 20 minutes or so is read directly from these articles so you can kick back and just enjoy the ride. And if there is something you want to chime in about, feel free to raise your hand. We'll bring you up to the stage. In the back half, we kind of have it more of an open industry roundtable. So if there's a topic throughout the week that we missed, or there's something else that we missed that you want to bring to the table, or if there's something you want to comment on, feel free to jump in. And with that being said, let's get to the news. Right on. All right, and this starts off from Musical.ly. This is the European Commission says Apple distorted competition in the music streaming market. The European Commission has sent a statement of objections to Apple after its Spotify-triggered investigation of the company reached a preliminary view that Apple, quote, distorted competition in the music streaming market as it abused its dominant position for the distribution of music streaming apps through its App Store. The EC is targeting the, quote, mandatory use of Apple's own in-app purchase mechanism imposed on the music streaming apps developers to distribute their apps via Apple's App Store, as well as its restrictions on companies like Spotify, quote, informing iPhone and iPad users of alternative, cheaper purchasing possibilities within their apps. The link in this article does go to the commission's full statement, but it claims that, quote, Apple's rules distort competition in the market for music streaming services by raising the cost of competing music streaming app developers. This in turn leads to higher prices for consumers for their in-app music subscriptions on iOS devices. In addition, Apple becomes the intermediary for all IAP transactions and takes over the billing relationship, as well as related communications for competitors. It's important to note this preliminary view, with the EC making it clear, sending a statement of objection, quote, does not prejudge the outcome of an investigation. So it goes on and deeper. You know, this is something they go on that Spotify and Apple both issue statements following the announcement. And then Apple spokesman says, Spotify has become the largest music subscription service in the world, and we're proud for the role we played in that. Spotify does not pay Apple any commission on over 99% of the subscribers and only pays 15% commission on those remaining subscribers that they acquired through the App Store. On the Spotify side, at the core of this case, okay, so as for Spotify, they say ensuring the iOS platform operates fairly is an urgent task with far-reaching implications. The European Commission's statement of objections is a critical step toward holding Apple accountable for its anti-competitive behavior, ensuring meaningful choice for all consumers and a level playing field for all app developers. And that was from Horacio Gutierrez, the head of global affairs. All right, so this is, Spotify filed this original complaint with the European Commission in March of 2019. So it's going back a while. We've also seen, Apple, Epic, we see these battles. We're now also seeing pricing wars on the podcasting, where if you want to have subscriptions, Apple is going to take higher fees, and Spotify says we're not taking fees. So one of the reasons was because you're being charged if there were in-app purchases through Spotify through the Apple App Store. So it's under the microscope, and this is something, this is an ongoing complaint. And while we are on the topic of Apple, this one is from Digital Music News. That Apple reports 660 million premium subscribers. The question it states is, does Apple Music have more paying more? I'm going to take that one again. Does Apple Music have more paying subscribers than Spotify? So this was the other day. Apple revealed that it boasts 660 million subscribers across all services, prompting some to ask whether Apple Music has a larger subscriber base than Spotify and its 158 million premium users. So the CEO of Apple CFO unveiled the subscription total reflects a quarterly gain of over 40 million accounts during the earnings call. They generated $89.58 billion during 2021's opening quarter, up more than 50% from $58.31 billion during the same stretch in 2020. So if they were breaking the total down by region, which provides telling insight both in terms of product sales and subscriptions to Apple Music and other services, Apple made 34.31 billion from consumers in the Americas during Q1. So, they talk about regarding aforementioned subscribership. They say during the March quarter, we added more than 40 million paid subs sequentially, and we have now reached more than 660 million paid subscribers across the services. So they don't elaborate on how many subscribers each service has, which falls under Apple Music, Apple Fitness, Apple Arcade, and Apple TV among them. But given the substantial subscriber total across these offerings, it's possible that Apple Music has surpassed Spotify on the subscribership front. So they were like breaking this down. It's like, they were saying that the subscribership arrived in January 2019 when the 6-year-old service cracked 50 million, calculating based upon that growth rate, which is about 2.5 million new users per month, excluding the months in which the benchmarks were announced. Apple Music would have gained 52.5 million subscribers for a total of 112.5 million users. So that is if they were to do the math to guess on what this is. But again, it's interesting that, Apple is not releasing the specifics of each service subscribers. And, Apple has bundles. So how does, what are you counting? Here's a one bundle and that's one for everybody. Are they doing the interesting accounting where it's like, oh, a bundle, so you are subscribed to each of the platforms and you count one for each? On this one, on the live music front, this is from SF List. Outside Lands single day tickets sold out in under 2 hours. So earlier this week, they got the day-to-day lineups, which is happening over Halloween weekend instead of August. And the single day tickets went on sale and they went fast. People are clearly jonesing for going back to normal and attending music festivals. And even though the CDC still wants you to wear a mask at a crowded outdoor event, an outdoor concert is starting to look pretty safe, especially if you're fully vaccinated. And there's no better proof of the events all kinds going on sale faster than Outside Land single-day tickets. There were apparently widespread glitches with the ticketing system, but the general admission and VIP tickets for October 29th, 30th, and 31st all sold out before noon. 3-day tickets were all sold out a while ago. So now all that's left is the 3-day Ultra VIP tickets, referred to as the Golden Gate Club tickets, which are selling for $4,000 a piece. All right, so this is, it's good to see this. I mean, hopefully, as we behave and more vaccinations, there won't be any more rescheduling, and we can definitely see that people want to get out there.
Is there anything about what the capacity is compared to what it was at previous times they've held it?
It does not say, but that is a very good question.
I love the fact that tickets are on sale, first off. But every time somebody says, well, clearly this is evidence of, well, not clearly, because there are no other tickets available. So until we see a mass amount of shows with tickets on sale, we don't know. When you only have 2 festivals to buy tickets, it's not shocking that they go fast.
Peter, may I add?
Absolutely.
This is Raji. Yes, I totally agree with what Chris just said. And to address, I think the way that most of us feel, what I've been hearing the last couple months, on this, I have a room. It's my first room in the Raji World Plus One Club. It is next Wednesday at 11:11. And it's basically going to be a, COVID safe job fair so that people who are back on the road, who are opening their venues, can hire really safe thinking, forward
Hmm.
thinking staff, so we can have these open conversations for
Right.
those of us that are going back to work.
Hmm.
And I would love, the thoughts that we often share in here, I would really love those addressed to a wider audience.
Raji, if there's anything that Peter or myself can do, we would love for you to ping us into a private room so that we can talk about this more in depth, because I'm a big fan of your work. So thank you so much for sharing this here today. But I would, for one, I would love to talk to you about this in another room when we have a little bit more time. Would that work?
Yes, of course. Absolutely.
Amazing. Amazing. Thanks, Raji. I'm a huge fan of your work. Thanks so much.
You know what's
All right,
crazy,
and this is
Peter? And sorry, go ahead. Sorry, Peter.
all right, Harry. Yeah, is there something on this topic? Because I do want to get through some
Yeah,
more, and then we're going to open up to a roundtable.
yeah. It's crazy because you have EZU going off in September. You got EDCLV that got moved to October. Now you have Ultra at the end of October. Then you have Dream State in Southern California going off in November. That's going to be an interesting touring schedule, to say the least, in terms of festivals.
I think we need to take the same approach as, unfortunately, we took with EDC. Proposed to take place. Anything can happen as far as vendors or anything at this time. Tours are still of the popcorn variety instead of actual full routing. There's a lot proposed, but as everybody got, oh, well, EDC's happening, it's happening, everybody book ticket, boom, nope. You know what I mean? Coachella, nope. So there's, before everybody, and look, I'm in this industry. I want to work. I want everybody to work. I want this over. But everybody needs to stop using the old playbook, because we're not even playing the same sport anymore. So any metrics that you held in the past, you can't use now. Looking at a show selling out in 2 hours when it's the only show on sale in the country is not a metric to use. The old platforms of tour routing, while they're still being discussed and being hoped for, that's not the way shows are popping up. So this needs to be looked at a lot more realistically, vetted out in an understanding that it's not the same game anymore. We have liquidity issues with buses, trailers, more so with drivers. So a lot has changed, and everybody needs to be cognizant of that fact, other than just looking at the news saying, okay, we're golden. That would be a big mistake to do it that way.
Hey, Chris, this
Oh
is
yeah.
Jamie. If I can, this is a problem that is across every industry. My wife works in retail. They've been discussing this with, they can't use their old models for PIs, inventory tracking, sales forecasting for stores. Everything because of this year has changed. We have to throw all the old models out and start anew. Maybe in 3 years we can go back to the old models, but right now it is all up in the air.
I would say that in some cases we shouldn't go back to the old models, because they were broken and we were just complacent with them. But again, it's not the same sport, and we need to be, again, cognizant of that fact and aware of what's going on. There's serious liquidity issues throughout different areas of this that need to be addressed. But again, everybody's holding to the old metrics, and I find that dangerous.
Not everybody, Chris. That's what my room is about. I want to try to move forward united with people that are on the same page about not going backwards.
It's true that not all parts of old normal are worth returning to. That's absolutely a fact. I'd like to, can we open this back up for discussion in the back half of the show? Can we talk more about this at the back half of the show, Peter? Would that be
Yeah,
okay?
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, yeah,
I
it
love
just
this.
says
I love this. I love this topic.
this.
I love live music and touring.
Well, it's
I'm
like
really
one of the most.
excited about it. I want to talk more about it.
It's the buzzing topic. Yeah, I mean, and it's important. It's an important discussion, and Chris makes some very great points there. So thank you, Chris. But while we're going to be talking about live, let's go over to Billboard here, and we're going to talk about why can't music get live streams right? Because as we come back, it's, there are these other articles which they are in the show notes, but I am going to skip over them for today because they are just very brief overviews and talking about how the live streaming is here to stay, and we also have one more about Twitch. But this one is like, why can't music get live streams correct? So what we have is this one is on Billboard. And virtual concerts promised to bolster the music industry during the pandemic, but Mark Anthony's and crash earlier this month was just the latest example of a stream gone bad. So the highly anticipated live stream concert on April 17th was supposed to be one of the biggest live stream shows yet. I think it's and he sold like one of the highest grossing Latin acts in the market. He sold 233,962 tickets in the U.S. alone in 2019, grossing $25.4 million from just 24 shows. All right, and so this concert would have added the value of his global audience. And, the event was billed as Anthony's first and only live stream, and Daddy Yankee was scheduled to join as a guest performer. But as Showtime sources say, more than 100,000 tickets have been sold, with prices ranging from $25 to $40. So the event promoters Loud and Live, an experienced live event promotion and marketing company that purchased major goal and U.S. arena tours, contracted the streaming platform Maestro to power the show. Maestro is viewed as the cream of the live streaming crop, with major shows like Billie Eilish's October live stream, Melissa Etheridge's successful Etheridge TV series. So it goes on. Basically what what happened is it was canceled at the last minute. They said, quote, they kept telling us to give them 20 more minutes to get it working. Loud and Live CEO Nelson Albareda told Billboard, at 10:06 p.m., I texted the CEO of Maestro and said, we can't wait anymore. We couldn't leave fans like hanging in that. Maestro CEO Ari Evans texted Albareda back, apologizing, saying that the company would own the event's failure. And Billboard has independently verified the existence of text in their contents. But speaking to Billboard, Evans shifted the blame back towards Loud and Live, arguing that the promoter provided inaccurate ticket sales figures to Maestro. Even though Maestro prepared for 50% headroom on the figure Loud and Live provided, Evans said ticket sales went far past that safety net, causing the stream to collapse. And they go on, quote, we're never going to know if the number was accurate or not because we didn't sell them. All we can tell you is the number of people who showed up claiming they had a ticket was grossly past the number they gave us. He adds that, quote, tens of thousands of people tried to enter using the same access code, putting further strain on the system. That's like 10,000 people showing up to a venue with the same fake ticket they bought on Craigslist. That's going to cause serious problems at the gate. So this is something that's going on, and it's interesting. We have to rely on the technology to like the websites, the platforms, and when you have something like that, enough people knocking on the door, it's going to collapse. And that's a very interesting takeaway, that people sharing links, and what kind of solutions are there for people, just even like when you see the SBA sites going down. This is something, when you open up the gates, it can't handle the load and the flood. So does anybody have any experience dealing with something to this extent?
I just want to bounce back on that. I opened the room and Ellie was here, and then just short. What I've noticed, I created some live stream event, and you've got companies have added live stream capabilities. So you've got them in Songkick, you've got them in Facebook, you've got them in Resident Advisor, you've got them in Eventbrite and a couple of other places. But the implementation was, I don't know, I would say rushed. There's still a lot of issue with them, and because they did something, then they think that that's all they needed to do. So there's a lot of user experience issues, there's a lot of integration issues, but they're not doing that. And we are still 1 year past the pandemic when they say, hey, we are helping live streaming people. And you see that, the problem is not resolved. And I know we are coming out of it, and I'm not sure it's going to get resolved. There's no pressure. So there's a lot of problem into, this platform that got all this event may not have, full developers, and they haven't done the integration. And when I opened support ticket, I was bouncing by between the integration people. So that was a little bit frustrating. So there's a little bit of this stuff. And it reminds me to say, the big major didn't understand the internet. Why did they will understand live stream now?
Yeah. I mean, one of the big issues and takeaway is, you talk about like platforms, the other like smaller platforms, well, not necessarily smaller, but platforms that are more consistent in the sense like a Twitch. Why doesn't Twitch go down when there is, thousands and millions of people on the platform? And it's about that peak load. And that's the challenge, especially with these companies that don't have this kind of experience, that handling, like there's consistent load and then there's peak load. So we're going to, it's going to be an interesting thing. Who was that?
Yes, I'm saying like,
Yeah.
Sankey Gassing is owned by Warner, so that's a big company, but you know, they are not getting the internet and they're not getting, how they can work on it. At the same time, it's all free stuff, so you wonder where is the product.
Right. All right, thank you for that. Yeah, so we can talk about it a little bit more. And I want to bring this over to Twitch. Twitch is this is again in Billboard, and Twitch makes its case artists can earn 3 to 15 times more using the video platform. That's what the headline says. The live stream platform is claiming to be the next frontier for creators, using an analysis by former Spotify chief economist Will Page. Can Twitch revolutionize the music industry? The Amazon-owned live streaming platform is making its case with a new microsite examining data from its users, showing artists on the platform can earn 3 to 5 times what they would get from Spotify and similar platforms. In what's basically a white paper called Twitch Rockonomics, former Spotify chief economist Will Page makes the case that Twitch is the next great hope for creators to make a decent living from streaming music. Quote, change has been a long time coming, writes Page, referring to the 2 decades of various streaming platforms like Rhapsody launched in 2012, Spotify 2008, and do-it-yourself tools that aim to give artists direct paths to fans, like the Topspin Media and MySpace back in the day. Using his analysis from data from MRC Data and Chartmetric, Twitch makes the argument that change is coming from its live streaming platform, perfect place for long-winded acoustic sessions or multi-hour DJ sets that wouldn't fly on platforms like Spotify or YouTube. This goes on. They talk about Twitch exists in an engagement economy. Money flows into Twitch through user subscriptions to creators' channels at $4.99, $9.99, or $24.99 per month. And also, Twitch is owned by Amazon and Prime Gaming. Members get to subscribe to one channel for free. Creators can also earn money from bits, a virtual paid good that allows a buyer to support a streamer. Artists can employ mid-roll advertisements to Twitch viewers that average 15.8 hours per week, far more than Spotify at 6.4 hours, and YouTube at 5.7, and TikTok at 1.9, according to Media Research. Finally, creators can direct viewers to third-party platforms such as Patreon and PayPal. So this, it goes on, and I encourage you, if this is something of interest, to really look into this article, because what they're comparing is these types of numbers to a Spotify stream, in a sense. And they're also talking about hours. They're talking about mid-roll advertisements, and you're comparing YouTube advertisements that could be 5 seconds. Twitch doesn't have a 5-second ad. So it's like we have to make sure to pay attention to the fact that, like, when you're comparing hours, you're comparing about the length of the ad rolls. So how many are they serving compared to the length? There's other things into this about what's been happening on Twitch's platform. And it does go into the article here more about the licensing. Twitch says it doesn't need licenses from the labels. Labels say otherwise. They've been having since last fall and last summer a lot of issues with DMCA takedowns, and they're bringing back up the presentation they talk about is the 1,000 true fans. So, it has a simple argument: make $100 profit from your 1,000 biggest fans annually, make you $100,000 a year, comfortable living. So, I'm bringing this, I brought this one up because if anybody has experience with live stream or any of their artists or anybody, and also it's not taking into account what the shift has happened on Twitch over the last, year and few months. What you're competing against is a completely different thing. You're competing against inflatable blow up, inflatable pools. And, it's like, do you want to be over in that pond, or there are other platforms like a D Live? There's other platforms out there that are trying to make it specifically a better environment for musicians to have that opportunity. Does anybody have experience on this? Oh, with that being said,
I know that. Spin Magazine and Twitch are now doing something together. So, but I don't think it's monetizing. I think it's more promo. I'm curious to see how they're going to get that going.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, with that being said, let's take a break for the weather report.
All right. We have listeners joining us on multiple streaming platforms all across the World Wide Web and around the globe, but we do take a short break just to look at your local weather where you are now. No matter where you are on the globe and no matter how you're tuning into the Music News Power Hour, the weather report for you is that it's a great day for you to step outside and take 3 deep cleansing breaths. And back over to you, Peter. That's
Right
your
on.
report for today.
Thank you for that. And it's Friday, so yeah, definitely get ready to get out for the weekend. This one, I'm going to follow up on this on Monday after I go in deeper, but I want to just make sure everybody's aware of it. There's an article, and all the articles in the show are in the show notes, where you can go to musicindustrycity.com and click on the Clubhouse Information Center graphic, and that'll take you to the links of all the articles that we covered throughout the week. This one is Music Business Worldwide. Goldman Sachs, Universal is worth over $50 billion, and global music streaming revenues will rise $3 billion this year. I'm not going to get into this one. The reason I put this one in here and for a link for you is because Goldman Sachs, they released their Music in the Air. And this is a really interesting insights and study that they do. And they're talking about, it's an interactive page that they have, so you go access this from the Music Business Worldwide article. You know, they talk about like what they're looking at, the how they think the music industry revenue will evolve. In 2017, they were saying live music is a $26 billion market. Recorded was $30 billion, and publishing was $6 billion. And their 2030 estimate is saying that live music is going to be $38 billion, recorded is going to be $80 billion, and publishing is going to be $12.5. It's really interesting to see from this standpoint what they're talking about. So I put that in the show notes just for everybody. And as we wrap up, coming to a close on the reads, I just wanted to get this one out there. This was in Today. 5 arrested in connection with Lady Gaga dog walker shooting. 5 people who allegedly stole Lady Gaga's dogs have been arrested 2 months after the incident that left her dog walker wounded from a single gunshot. In February, Lady Gaga offered $500,000 reward for the return of her 2 French bulldogs after they were stolen. Ryan Fisher was walking Gaga's 3 dogs near West Hollywood when he was shot. Koji and Gustav was stolen during the incident while a third dog, Miss Asia, got away. Lady Gaga was in Italy at the time of the incident. So the Thursday, the Los Angeles Police Department announced the arrest of 5 suspects, saying their investigation reveals that James Jack, they name him here, were involved in the robbery and they were arrested. Detectives say they do not believe the suspects were targeting Fisher because of his relationship, but evidence suggests the suspects knew the value of the bulldogs, and that was the motivation behind the robbery. LAPD said detectives found the woman who returned the dogs a few days later seeking the reward to be an accessory of the crime. They said McBride had a relationship with one of the suspects' father, and he was arrested on charges as an accessory as well. So, as they say, quote, this was a brazen street crime that left a man seriously wounded. And, we have alleged that very serious charges in this case and have faith in justice will be appropriately served in this case unfolds in court. So, really interesting. One of those stories like, hey, the person who returned it's like, where's my reward? But, that's kind of like the hijacker situation. And with that, we're going to go into the Spotify. What's a day without the Spotify? I mean, it's Friday. We got to have that final Spotify of the week, and then we're going to open up to the roundtable.
We have to have the Spotify spot. The big green dot, it hits the spot. We're about to go into our final article, the Spotify spot, our daily Spotify update. But before we do, I want to take just a moment to reset the room and welcome everyone who is tuning in, not just on Clubhouse for iOS, but across streaming platforms and all over the World Wide Web. Thanks for checking out the Music News Power Hour. We do this from 12 to 1 every weekday, and that is 12 to 1 Eastern. Please do join us. If you're in the Clubhouse room and you'd like to join the discussion and we haven't invited you to speak yet, it isn't because we don't love you. It's probably just because we're reading something. So please feel free to raise your hand, put your hands up, which means something totally different here than it does out in the club. But put your hand up. Please come and join our discussion. We have one more headline before we move into our open roundtable discussion and our week in review. Peter, let's take a look at that last headline for the Spotify spot.
All right. Well, it's actually 2 quick headlines because there's always like 5 things going on Spotify. So this one is just a quick update. Spotify launches redesigned Your Library with new grid, dynamic filters, and more iOS, Android. So they announced an update and a better redesign. Your Library changes include a new grid view, dynamic filters, improved sorting, and more to better access all of your music and podcasts in one play. So they send their blog post starting today. We are rolling out a new version of your library to all Spotify mobile users. Now you have a more streamlined way to easily explore your collection and find your saved music and podcasts faster. Your library's updated design, added features will enable you to spend less time looking for content, organizing your collection, and more time rediscovering music and podcasts. So it's all about, check it out. So if you see something different, that's what it is. But the final article in TechCrunch and says Spotify CEO says live audio content is the next stories. All right, live audio experiences. We see everything going on. Clubhouse, everything else. So this talks about Spotify CEO Daniel Ek told investors on Wednesday earnings call that the streaming service really acquired live audio app Locker Room, whose technology expects to use to power a range of new live audio conversations centered around sports culture and, of course, music. Investors were curious how exactly Locker Room would fit in Spotify's current offerings, given the streamer is focused on delivering recorded content, music, and podcasts, and not some sort of live social experience. Mirroring what many in the industry have already been thinking, says he sees live audio as a new set of capabilities that will broadly be adopted by all. He basically dubbed it the next stories, a feature popularized by Snapchat, but that eventually made its way onto every platform. It's, quote, it's really no different than you have to think about stories, explaining his thoughts. Stories today exists on a format, a number of platforms, including Spotify, including, of course, Instagram, Snap, and many others. So I do look at live audio as a compelling feature set, and I think creators will engage in the places where they have the best sort of creator-to-fan affinity for the type of interactions that they're looking for. And I think this is very similar to how stories played out historically. In other words, each platform may attract a certain kind of audio creator, and Spotify sees its own potential in the realm of music culture, the latter thanks to its existing expansive investments in podcasts. So article goes on. Again, this is from all the show notes, which you can find at musicindustrycity.com, and click on the Clubhouse information. It's going to be like, hey, we're going to be able to start leaving voice messages for each other on Spotify, and now that it's tied in with Facebook even more, and Facebook reaching with their new, they're talking about leaving audio snippets on people's timelines. This is going to be really interesting. So if that's going to be it for the news read, all right, let's open it up. Anybody has some thoughts on some of the topics that we covered today, or if there was something during the week that we brought to the table and you wanted to, bring it back up and open that conversation, let's let it happen. All right. Great to see everybody.
Peter, great to be here. Thanks for hosting.
Thanks, April. Hey, Victoria.
Hey, how is everyone?
Good to see you. We were talking the other day, might have been even yesterday. It was about, all the catalog acquisitions going on, and also business acquisitions, mergers, everything that's been going on. And I know you had to actually get off because you had to get on a call. But, the whole thing is, why? One of the questions was why now? Why, the last 2 years has it been such a dynamic and many can say exciting market for all this? So, was there anything that you wanted to, chime in on that about your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, these are all just pure speculation and opinions. Like, it's not coming from either of the companies that I currently work for. But
Full
I just found it
disclaimer.
rather, yeah, full disclaimer, like, these are pure opinions of my own. And I just find it really curious that, especially within the last year, we're seeing more of these catalog sales and acquisitions. And I wonder if it's in part due to the pandemic and artists not being able to really cash in on live performance and live music. And so maybe they're seeing a value in their catalogs, and instead of looking at making that money within the next 5, 10, 20 years, they see a greater value in getting the revenue from it now at a lower tax rate than they would trying to monetize it sit on it for the next 10 we'll just average like 10 years, whereas like larger companies like Sony would be able to, you know, sit on that, not really think about it, and see the income as it rolls in over life of copyright. And then even with like, I remember us mentioning the AWOL sale, which I've been slightly affected by professionally, and I I know that Sony is looking, like, it appears they're looking to expand, like quite obviously by all the headlines that they're making. And I'm just curious if it's like because they're so big, they can't like really think of their, or maybe there's too much red tape to get through to establish new processes, so they're acquiring new businesses that are already achieving what they're looking to do. Those are my thoughts.
I was wondering, Victoria, also is for these artists, it seems that there is a succession plan because the catalog will maybe last longer than their life expectancy because there was a kind of older artist. So instead of moving that into a trust with their succession, then they can convert it in cash and leave cash to their successors.
And Frank, that's a great point. And to that end, some of those artists, their next of kin is not necessarily involved in the music industry and wouldn't necessarily want to get involved with being a rights holder and trying to figure out how to do that and navigate it successfully as a legacy rights holder. And so sometimes, you know, the combination is really what makes an artist want to sell. There are a lot of reasons why an artist would be interested in monetizing by selling their catalog, but sometimes it's a perfect storm of many reasons, I think.
Plus, there are currently there's currently lots of talk of a dramatic increase in the capital gains tax. So these artists would realize the income from these sales right away and potentially be able to leave them to their children and such before the increase in those taxes. And a lot of them are, you know, up in years and would be able to reap the benefits of this income right away, as opposed to the trickling in of that income over, you know, potentially decades.
I shouldn't be doing this, but Peter or Ellie, can you please bring up Chris? He's on the front row followed by the users. We're gonna talk about something that's going to be really interesting. You guys are going to get a lot of value out of what's about to get dropped, especially if you're an artist and if you have a lot of back catalogs.
Right. Well, we want to.
Hey, Chris, how you doing?
Hey, I know, Henry. Is this the thing that Harry? This is the thing that you were talking about in the earlier room?
Yes, sir.
Right. Yeah. So we want to keep it a little more like without like with the promo of like a new service in the newsroom. We'd like to keep it onto like a news topic and thought pieces on, you know, the discussion that, you know, the topic that Victoria that brought up, you know, saying like, so we can have that open discussion. We're just trying not to do like promotions of other things, and we want to keep it into the news, and then so other people can allow also to talk about some of the news articles that we covered. Is that cool with you?
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it's just regarding the back catalogs of what artists are doing now with back catalogs and how they're removing them from record labels.
Right. So if so let's talk about like the thought process behind that as opposed to like a company that's doing something about that. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, it's good but it's really hard because these two are intertwined, if you know what I mean, Peter. It's because when artists that are not getting anything from these any monetary value from these back catalogs, now if they're pulling them off their record labels and DSPs and whatnot, they're able now to kind of monetize them so they gain money for them. And that's the kind of aspect behind this, is where you're able to bring value to a back catalog that's not getting anything sitting at any of the labels or DSPs or iTunes or all that other stuff. So, but you need to kind of put the underlying principle as how they're monetizing this. And that's why the product that Chris is working on and part of makes a lot of sense for artists, especially ones that have an extensive back catalog doing nothing for them.
Right.
That's amazing. And I can't wait to hear more about that in another room, because it sounds like you guys are both really excited about this. I can't wait to hear more about this in another room. Thanks
You
for
got
sharing
it.
thanks for sharing that. That's something I get to look forward to, Harry. I'm
No
stoked
worries.
now. I want to also invite Gary to share any thoughts that you might have. Gary, thanks for joining us on the stage. It's good to see you. I wondered if you had any thoughts on all these artist catalogs that are being sold recently. It seems like a big trend in artist catalogs to sell the entire catalog. We wonder if you have any thoughts on that, not to put you on the spot.
No, I don't really. I mean, I'm learning more about this. I mean, a lot of my background has been in theater, I mean, television and film and stuff like that. So catalogs are automatically dealt with in those aspects, and not so much with the songs. So I'm here to learn about that stuff, and I appreciate you bringing me up, and I appreciate the conversation.
It's always great to see you, Gary. Thanks for being here. It's good.
Vice versa. Thank you.
Yeah. So, was there any other topics that I know Angela might have something on her mind that from earlier this week? I know we covered that, but if there's anybody else that there was something that you heard as a topic or from today that you wanted to jump in about, or anything also going back with earlier's discussion on live music and what we're seeing that is rolling out.
I still am quite intrigued. Hi, everybody. Happy Friday. Sorry, I'm just a bit late coming from the birthday party in the park, which was a rousing success for 6-year-olds. And I'm just wondering, now that we have quite a few faces in the room than we had on the day when we were talking about it. It was kind of a slow news day. We were talking about how everybody feels about Spotify moving into more of the space of being a sort of listening outpost as opposed to just a sort of music site, and the use of podcasts on the site now could be competing with music, and is it becoming more of that type of service as opposed to just a music space, and how everybody feels about potentially it becoming now with the live piece that's been announced today, it becoming sort of this wider service as opposed to something that's just music centric and became everybody's means for selling and sharing music.
I've said for a long time that Spotify is going to be basically an entertainment company. And the fact is, I mean, they're building it all out, and the tie-in with Facebook. And here's it's basically Apple versus Spotify as we're looking at this right now. And Spotify, one of the areas that I personally have seen, and I brought this up a few times, mentioning about I'd love to see some analytics of podcast listening attrition over the time, because one of the things that Spotify is doing is it's consolidating. So they're bringing it in. They brought podcasts into the music streaming platform, whereas iTunes split it out into a completely separate app. So you have podcasting as a separate app. Now we're also seeing subscriptions on both platforms for drastically different rates and creator cuts. But here's the thing: one of the discussion points was the competition, and I think that's one of the areas that you mentioned. It's like musicians are going to be competing against other services on the platform. So it's not like competing against going to YouTube; it's competing to go watch videos on Spotify. It's not competing to go to podcasts, it's competing to go to podcasts on Spotify. One thing that I noticed, and I studied a lot of my analytics for I have a couple podcasts, is that my drop-off rate on Spotify is a lot more drastic than on Apple Podcasts. Now, my question is that because I'm competing with playlists and other things or distractions that people are like, oh, well, I just feel like, I'm done listening to this podcast for a while, I want to go listen to a song for a little bit. As opposed to if you are on Apple Podcasts, you don't want to close out the app and launch. You don't feel like you're going to launch another app. So as Facebook is great about keeping everybody in their ecosystem, now you can play Spotify Music and Spotify Podcasts on Facebook. So that integration they did over a decade ago is probably one of the most. It's going to be touted as one of the most brilliant moves ever made before anybody knew what was going on. And with that being said, it's now coming to fruition. and you're seeing that tie-in. So now Spotify is part of the Facebook ecosystem.
Hey, what's going on, Peter? It's Andrew here.
Hey, Andrew, good to see you.
Hello, mate. Yeah, I think you got it right. Exactly. You know, Spotify is firstly a subscription company that just happens to focus on, you know, audio music and obviously podcasts, and that can allow it to extend into other genres outside of music, you know, comedy, entertainment, cooking, fashion, whatever. But you know, the integration's great, and it just adds that other element. As a listener, you don't want to have to bounce around between different apps, and you know, you're able to listen to something, share it, engage with your friends, and to be able to do that without leaving, you know, is a great thing as well. You know, I think I heard Facebook might enter into the metaverse space as well. So, you know, with Amazon. So you can just imagine a world where you literally don't have to go anywhere to listen and consume and purchase. But yeah, it's a interesting topic. Also, Daniel Ek from Spotify also wants to buy Arsenal Football Club, which is was totally a random play I found out this week as well. So,
well,
Spotify wants to get involved in all sorts of things.
He said he has the money to do it for Arsenal, and
I think they need it. Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm done speaking.
So pretty soon, I guess, we'll all be going to concerts at Spotify arenas across the U.S.
Exactly.
All right, so I want to bring up the NFT. We talked about Imogen Heap earlier this week with Andy, and Harry's here and here were involved. Could you tell us a little bit about what happened, what went right, what went wrong, and what's going on for next week?
Hey, Peter. Hey, Eli. Thank you for pulling us in. Yeah, it was a bizarre state of affairs yesterday. We ended up in a position where we actually didn't sell any of the NFTs. But we suddenly were drawn into a world of massive support from the NFT community here on Clubhouse. The NFTs Tips team opened up a room and pulled us all into it, and everybody in the room had changed their picture to Imogen Heap, and there was her music playing when we came in. And they just sort of give us a huge virtual hug and gave us a whole load of advice. And then Imogen opened up her own room, and suddenly there's like 500 people in there, all chipping in with their advice. And Don Diablo then purchased one of the pieces just straight off the bat, offered her, and they're now talking about, whether, they were openly talking about it last night, whether that might be something that they can then put together, and it's a vocal piece of Imogen. Her vocal pieces have always been, her a cappella pieces have always been the most popular pieces of her work. So that's kind of kicked it off again, and we've had some fantastic advice from the community. They've been very supportive, and now we've extended the auction out to Tuesday. And now that there's a greater understanding of what we're trying to do with it from the point of view of supporting the creative community, all the money will be going to things that will help artists in the future, including the Creative Passport and Streamliner, and a number of other different initiatives. It just, now that the story's out, there's a bigger understanding, so we've extended it, and we're going for a marathon on Tuesday evening, half an hour apart, 5 different sales, and see how it goes again. But I think Imogen is brilliant at engaging people when things go wrong. If you've ever been to any of her concerts, if something technically goes wrong, she's just absolutely amazing. And we kind of did this club together in the afternoon, and we basically said, what are we going to do? It doesn't look like it's doing anything. And Imogen just basically said, look, if you're an artist, you're willing to go out there and fail in public. And I think that's what we're going to need to do. If it doesn't do anything, we just have to just say, look, we obviously didn't get it right. And I think, a lot of people heard her and, rallied round. And it was an amazing Clubhouse experience.
Right.
I second that. I was in both of those rooms for a little while. It was great.
Oh, amazing! Thanks, Mike. Appreciate that.
Right, and the one that she did with the NFT tea room that was later, we got right, Andy. We got like what 500 more. I think it was like close to like almost 600 people.
Yeah, I think Sam spotted about 800 at one point, and Clubhouse's head of community came in. Don Diablo was there.
Yeah.
Just it was just one of those ones where there was just it was almost like everybody just rallied round to give it a big old hug. And it was one of those ones where we were already pitching where we're going to look at this, and it's either going to be, oh, this really didn't go right, or it really went right. But actually, we kind of got to the end of the evening. It was like, oh, it didn't go the way we were expecting, but we've all come out feeling with great. So bizarre.
Right, but Andy, but what the challenges were that we were facing, right, was with Sam, right, when he incredibly and intuitively used Arweave. So that way the NFT lives forever, as opposed to it, going on through another platform. And that took some technical stuff and getting the splits right, so that way everyone gets paid. And then the best thing is that we included what I was telling Peter and the rest of the room, and April and Ellie in the other room, was Nori. So, all that stuff had to get, make sure that everything is done right. And then the marketing aspects, which there was not enough time to quite do. And now from yesterday's room, like Andy was saying, everybody just rallied around, and I think it's getting relisted Monday evening, and then on Tuesday it's going to be, kind of the big push where we do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, in a couple of the other rooms here, I've kind of explained some of the in Peter and Eli's rooms, I've explained that sort of backstory of how we've tried to do all of these right things. But I think one of the things that Imogen faced was a big backlash off of Twitter about the ecological impact of NFTs. And there was an upsettingly amount of people who weren't really looking into it from the point of view of the way that we were doing it. And basically saying, if people are going to be doing things in this space, somebody needs to step forward and do it in an ethical way and show the way it can be done. And that's what we tried to do.
And we did
right on.
With Nori.
I just want to say to Andy and Harry both that this is something that's very courageous that you've done, that you are at the forerunner of some of this technology in ways that many of us are not. So we really appreciate you sharing your experiences with us, good and bad, in this room. We've been cheering for you throughout the process, even before we knew what the project was. When we heard, well, there's something interesting I'm working on, but that's all I can say. We were all cheering for you even then, even though we had no idea what it was. So we're so thankful for your experience and that you're sharing it with us here. Thank you so much. The good, the bad, and the ugly of NFTs right here in the Music News Power Hour. This has been Music News Power Hour Week in Review for this Friday. I want to take just a couple of moments because we are about to wrap it up. We try to keep this at 1 hour so you can get back to your day. We are here every weekday, Monday through Friday, 12 to 1 Eastern Time, with all the music news headlines that you actually want to hear and discuss. Please join us on Clubhouse for iOS and also across multiple streaming platforms around the globe and across the World Wide Web. Just quickly, as we move into these final seconds of the Music News Power Hour Week in Review, any final thoughts from anyone on the stage? No, everybody's just anxious to go do their weekend. All right, well,
time for the weekend. Yeah,
it's the freaking weekend. We will.
First time I joined it, and I like
Eastern. Oh, awesome. Thanks for being here, Frank. It's really good to see you in the room. Yeah, thank you, everyone, for joining us. We will see you back here Monday, 12 to 1 Eastern for Music News Power Hour. My name is Eli Window, and on behalf of my co-host, Peter Schwing, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you Monday. Have a great weekend.
Right on. Yeah, thank you, Eli. Everybody, give it up for Eli, and thank you, everybody. And the show notes at musicindustrycity.com. Click on the Clubhouse Information Center graphic. You can see all those news articles and headlines from the week. And we reset that every Monday morning before the Monday News Power Hour. So if you want to get in, make sure to check that out over the weekend. And hey, everybody, have an awesome weekend. We will see you Monday. Cheers.
Thanks, Peter. Thanks, Eli.
Thanks, Andy. It's great to see you. Thanks for sharing your experiences with us here. We all have so much to learn about NFTs.
Oh, so do we.
Where's our Friday theme song?
Oh, yeah. Okay, the stream has ended, so we can go Friday.